The people that are in the country, they're in the country. We're not talking about them. These are people that are outside of the country, so we're really not talking about the Constitution. And it's not about religion. This is about safety. This has nothing to do with religion. It's about safety. A lot of problems are happening in our country.
Now, that was Donald Trump earlier today insisting that his proposed ban on Muslims entering the U.S. is a temporary safety measure, not about religion. Here with reaction is the religious director and imam of the Islamic Center of Triplex, Nidal Alsayyed, and the president of Muslims for Progressive Values, Unveiled. Good to see you all. Imam, let me start with you. You agree with Donald Trump?
Sean, thank you first for having me. It's clearly a kind of overreactions by many American Muslims to Mr. Trump's statements. The truth is that he definitely concerned about some security, some safety, some peace that is happening due to Muslims or Islam being associated with many of these radical terror groups and individuals that are popping in the country or different countries from time to time. So that I would assume any type of safety security measure to basically hold on, make us understand what is really going on, that would be, I would really consider it as a very wise move towards holding any Muslims, immigrations, or even visitors until we know that all Muslims really understand what it takes to live in the Western countries or United States. One of the challenges that we face here is that most Muslims don't understand there is a Sharia law, or what we refer to it as Islamic law, that is pertaining to living in the United States, meaning the Sharia law that you learned in your country is not the same Sharia law that you will have to behave with or work with in this country. The roots are the same holy book, the same reports from Prophet Mohammed. But the truth is, it's still, the issue is a matter of different backgrounds from different places. It's really hard for any intelligence to understand what those people really look.
All right, let me bring on Ian.
Situations here.
You know, our National Intelligence Director, they're just warning. I want to ask you about the question about people that grow up in a culture that is diametrically the opposite of ours, the antithesis of ours. That means under Sharia. What are your thoughts about, do you think people, I would imagine most want to come here for freedom, but maybe some want to come here like they've gone to Europe and maintain the values that they grew up with. Thoughts?
So let me, if I may, humor me, let me explain to you what Sharia law is in 15 seconds that some scholars take 5 books to explain to you. Sharia law, it's basically a man-made set of laws. It has nothing to do with God, and that's why you have different sets of Sharia law in different countries. Sharia law is a mix-up of secular norms, and the medieval misogynistic men of the 7th century extrapolating from the Quran, meshing it all up, going to the clergy who's on their payroll and saying, hey, look, you have to legitimize this as religious or off with your head. And so you have Sharia law. So the fact that here in the United States, Muslims for Progressive Values, we don't subscribe to Sharia law because the law of the land is our Sharia. Now, the fact that I think what's happening now is Trump is backpedaling a bit on his full-blown statement. He's actually feeding off statistics that was put out 2 years ago where it's just hovering under 50%. Americans in general believe that Muslims should be carrying a special identity card, you know, identifying themselves as Muslims. And so he's not really pandering to just his Republican
but
base.
The reality is we know ISIS wants to infiltrate the refugee community. We know they want to attack us. We know they're looking for ways into the country.
The radicalism is in the U.S., Sean. The radicalism is in the United States.
All right, there are some. There are 1,000 that the FBI told us about, but we don't want more.
Yeah.
We want to stop those that have radical views from getting in.
The fact is Trump is a scumbag for riding on the misery of these refugees who are terrorized by Assad and ISIL.
Okay, but not all of them. But listen, I can sympathize with them, and I believe we should set up safe zones and provide humanitarian assistance and food and water and medical supplies. But if there's a risk to Americans that some radicalized ISIS members will infiltrate that population, I'm not willing to gamble with the American people's lives. I'm just not willing to do it.
I'm not willing to gamble with that too, but I think that him painting it out as banning all or halting all.
No, that's not what he said. What he said is until we get the system.
That is what he said.
No, he said
until he backpedaled out of it.
I have the paper right here. Trump for America, right there. I got the whole statement. Until we get to the point that the country's representatives can figure out what is going on, until we are able to determine and understand the nature of the problem, that it would be a temporary ban. So that's what he said. All right, I got to roll. Thank you both.